What's up? My name is Cliff with the Creators Cup, and if you're watching this video, you likely purchased the audio cage for the FX3 audio module. This is something we 3D print and that we sell on our Etsy store and on our website. This video is going to be an instructional video explaining how to assemble this cage, and it's not one of our normal YouTube videos, so fair warning, you may want to watch something else. So we're going to do this video by going through what's in the box, how to assemble it, and then how to add accessories. And at the end, we'll go over a few little tips and tricks that we have figured out along the way. So starting with the box, it comes with the two 3D printed parts. These parts do have little layer lines, especially on one side. That is very normal, so don't worry about that if you see that. That is one of the downsides of 3D printing. You have the top or front half, and then the bottom or back half of the actual audio cage itself included in the box. The box also includes hardware to assemble the cage and some additional screws if you want to add optional accessories. The bags included in the kit are the hardware to assemble the cage itself. This includes all the screws to actually attach the cage together on the bottom and on the back, and we'll get to that in a moment. It includes 1/4 nuts to add as inserts so you can add your own accessories on top of the cage. It includes 1/4 screws that you can go out through the cage with, as well as jam nuts to use on the front and then on the bottom of the cage itself. Then the final bag of screws is if you want to do the small rig cold shoe. These are just small 2.5 millimeter screws that go through the cage and allow you to attach the small rig cold shoe on top. Any type of accessory like this you're going to want to do before you assemble the cage, so we'll go ahead and start by adding the small rig cold shoe. This is not included, but it is an accessory I recommend. 2 packs of these are about $9 on Amazon if you can get them locally. To attach the small rig cold shoe, the first thing you're going to want to do is insert the 2.5 millimeter nuts on the back side. The easiest way I found to do that is to actually spin them on the bolts themselves and then insert them through the bottom. They should pretty well stay on their own. You should not have to hold it to where it doesn't fall out, so it should just stay in there. So we'll do that to both. Okay, now that those are inserted, we'll flip it over and then drop the screws in the top. The cold shoe does include its own screws, but those screws are pretty short, and honestly, I don't quite trust them. So we try to include sets so that you have something a little longer and a little bit stronger to hold it on there. So we'll tighten this down, just snug. It doesn't need to be over tightened. You don't need to use the long end of the wrench really for anything on this project. Okay, there is the small rig cold shoe completely inserted and ready to go. The next thing we're going to want to do is decide what other accessories we're going to add. And depending on what accessories we add depends on the type of bolts we put in this. So for the top, I just want to be able to thread in something from the exterior of the cage. So we use these standard 1/4 nuts. These will just snap right in, just like that. And they shouldn't fall out. Again, they should stay in place. Then for the front, we're going to use jam nuts or screws in our case. Now you can use the screws anywhere you want, but we want to add this 15 millimeter rod to the front of our cage. So we're going to use the screws that are included. Just tighten these down. And again, you do not need to over tighten them. All right, so that is the top or front of the cage fully assembled and ready. And again, you can put your own accessories wherever you like, but this is what we chose to do on this setup. So now we'll set that aside. And then we're going to prep the bottom of the cage. So on the bottom, we usually use a jam nut. You can use either one if you have any issues, but the jam nuts seem to work the best. The only difference, if I haven't already pointed this out, is they are a little bit thinner. And then for the assembly, we'll need this bag. Then in here we have the 2 back screws and then the main bottom screw. We'll want to start by inserting the number 6 nuts into the back. These can fall out, so you'll need to keep a hold of this whenever you're moving it around. And then we also need to drop this nut into the base like that right there. Once you've done that, we'll just slide this directly onto the handle itself. Again, taking care to not drop these out of the back. And then we'll slide this into the front, just like that. And now we have everything pretty well together. Now we want to start by putting in the screw into the bottom. And if you hold it like this in this orientation, it won't actually cause that nut to flip over, so it's a little bit easier. And then just spin this in. Again, you do not need to over tighten this. Just snug is all it needs. And then for the back, we'll drop in these 2 number 6 screws. And these take a Phillips. So depending on whether your audio module was actually broken before you put this cage on, this will fit a little bit differently. So our audio module was broken completely, and then we actually glued it back together. It still works great before we put this cage on. So because of that, there's a little bit of a lean to it. You'll notice one side is a little bit tighter than the other. Now there will always be a little bit of a gap in this space here, and that allows for people with different audio modules, whether they've been damaged or not, to work with this cage. So again, just snug these up, but they do not need to be very tight. The 3D printed material will keep the screws from coming loose. So that's all it takes. And we are fully assembled. From here, all you need to do is add any accessories you want, and you can also use this little slot in the bottom as cable management. We found that the little cable management clips on the bottom of the audio module tend to just, well, break right off. So this allows you to put a zip tie or some kind of strap on here. As I said in a previous video, you don't want to use Velcro because it's going to be noisy and right beside your microphone. Now that we have the cage fully assembled and I've attached this 15mm threaded rod and the cold shoe on top, we can add pretty much any accessories we want. Do keep in mind that if you do attach a monitor to the front of this or anything else, it will be adding a lot of extra weight and torque to this handle. The interior of the handle is made out of metal, but it will fail at some point. So definitely don't overdo it. I would not recommend really heavy batteries or a really heavy monitor, but you can put something lightweight on here. As far as adding microphones, you can just attach them here, and then you no longer have to use Sony's little mic isolator, which is awful. And you can take this off just using these 2 screws in here if you don't want to hear this thing rattling around anymore. Well, hopefully this video was helpful in assembling this. If you guys have any questions, please leave a comment below or send us an email, and I'll put that link down below as well. If you have any issues with this, don't hesitate to reach out. We will definitely make it right. We're gonna keep updating this product to make it better and better over time. So any advice or feedback we get from you guys is really appreciated. Well, thank you again for the support, and we'll see you soon.